Hi, ladies. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right, I'm just gonna mute you guys
Okay.
and we're just gonna wait for everybody else to come on.
Man, the folks in the 49ers.
Perfect. Making sure there's no messages. Oh, shoot. I didn't grab my things off the printer. I'm like just sitting here. Hold on.
Callie.
I'm coming. All right, we got about 3 minutes. Okay, we got about a minute and then we're gonna get going here. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and get started. So hope everybody's having a great week. I read through everybody's responses to my questions on Sunday. Um, I love that the majority of you were positive, that not everything is going to be easy and not everything is going to be the same every week. Remember, you guys are human, right? So one week you might have an amazing week getting your steps in, and the next week shit might happen and you don't get your steps in. But that's what life is about. Nothing is going to be perfect every single week, right? So when you are doing this every week and you answer these questions that I ask you, I actually you read them or after I read them, and if you say, everything's great, everything's perfect, blah blah blah, I don't really go into looking at your logs. But if you say to me, I had a challenge with this, or this, I could not do this, or something like that, I always look to see, what do your steps look like? What does your food look like? How did your week look comparative to what you're answering with the questions? So I do read your answers just so you guys know. I might not respond because there's really not an answer for me to give you. Or a couple of days later, after I've done the research, after reading it, like today, I gave you guys like an emoji or like a hand clap or something so that you know, and I'm acknowledging that I did read it and looked into it, just so you all know that. I love reading those. I read them while I'm on the treadmill. I respond to you guys if I need to, after I read them. Like I said, if it doesn't really need a response, I don't respond to it. And if you feel like it requires a response, then just message me back and say, hey, I was looking for something. Or do you have any guidance? Or can you give me any tips? Not, maybe I didn't get that from your answers, right? So I'm human also, and I might not have understood what you had said in your responses, right? Like and I'm not saying anybody in particular, but like, and nobody said anything to me, but like there was one person that was like, everything's great, things are good, blah, blah, blah. But then I look at their log and they haven't been logging. So I'm like, okay, everything's not great, everything's not good because you're actually not doing the program, right? I actually did reach out to this person. And she's like, no, everything's great. The scale's moving, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, that's awesome. I said, but are you getting in your food? And she said, yeah, I promise you I am. I'm just not able to log it. I'm not the police, I'm your coach. So I would hope that you are logging and tracking so you know what you're eating. But the main focus, and I've been trying to impress upon this with everyone, is get your proteins in. All the new certifications I've been doing about menopause, perimenopause, life longevity, wellness, being healthy, being able to drop body fat, your main focus needs to be proteins. Everything else will fall into line. So if you don't get 36 grams of carbs in, like you leave 36, fine. I get it. We're not 23, we're not 25, we're not 28, right? As we get older, our body's not processing everything the same way it used to. And I'm learning, just like you guys are, that when we're in perimenopause or in menopause or postmenopause or just over 40, and you might not be any of those categories, protein is the most important thing. Protein is a builder. It is a building block, right? So it helps build the muscle. It helps build your cells for cellular regrowth, for your hair, your skin, your nails. Fats actually buffers that, which is why we need our fats. And carbs helps with your energy. But the most important factor is rebuilding our muscles, because the more muscle you have, the more fat your body burns. Protein is also a natural appetite suppressant. Carbs increases your hunger. So if you focus on the protein, and if I tell you to have 160 grams of protein, that's what you want to do. Maybe 150, whatever, that 10 grams over under rule, but your focus is protein. And I've been looking at everybody's to see what you guys are doing. If you are lifting a lot more weights than you were when we originally started, or when you filled out your update form, then we need to add more protein, because it has to be able to sustain and have enough protein in your system for when you're breaking down all that muscle to rebuild it. And that's why we take aminos. Aminos are branch chain aminos, BCAAs, are proteins. They're not full proteins like if you were to eat chicken, but they're proteins enough that will help you rebuild and help with muscle recovery and help with making sure your muscles are safe. Let's use that as an example. So let's say you have a wire and there's plastic coating around the wire. The wires that have the plastic coating, and you have to use the wire things to cut it, but then they're always hard to get it off. Kind of the same thing, right? So you want to make sure you're getting in those proteins to help with your body. Okay. That was just something I wanted to talk about because I was looking at everybody's questions and stuff like that, and how important it is it to get in my proteins versus other things, because it's really easy. I know I'm going back on this tangent, but it's really easy to get in our fats. But if you can't get your proteins in without going over your fats, that's going to be the problem, right? So that's what we want to focus on. Focus on getting in your proteins. The second thing we want to focus on is fitness. If you are only doing cardio, you're going to gain weight. Being a cardio bunny does not break down fat. Lifting weights, the lean muscle, is what's going to break down your fat. So you need to do a little bit of both. Get your heart rate up, cardiovascular health, as well as breaking down your muscles so that they can regrow and get stronger and bigger and help you. Okay. So I want to talk about today about habits. I know we always talk about habits, and habits are the groundwork of making changes. If you don't break bad habits or create new good habits, you're not going anywhere. Nothing's changing. And I know one time they said it takes 21 days to create a habit. Then it went to 28 days to create a habit. Now it's kind of like, if you do something for at least 30 days to start and take it on for 90 days, that makes a lifestyle change. There's a lot going on there in Sandra's house. She must be cleaning up from dinner. Anybody else notice that? You what?
We're back from football, so I'm starting dinner.
Oh, okay. I see a
Yeah.
lot happening there.
I know. That's the story of my life. It's a shit show all the time.
I love it. I've been there, done that. My kids are 25 and 28, and they were both in sports, so I totally get it. Totally
I feel like it's never ending.
it won't. Just goes on and on forever. From sports to something else. Okay. All right. So let's talk about, and we're going back to proteins. Let's talk about some habits that will help you with lifestyle change, and then lifestyle change that will help with longevity, that will help with your fat loss, that will help with your body changing, because that's what we ultimately want. We want our health to change. We want our body to change. The scale moving is great, but when you lose the body fat, that's when your body starts to shrink. So if you're just weighing yourself all the time and you're still built and you're working out, the scale may not move, but you're shrinking. Your clothes might feel a little better. People might notice you look a little leaner. That's the end goal, because muscle and fat weigh exactly the same. They look different. If this is a pound of fat, this is a pound of muscle, smaller, which is why you look leaner. It's telling me that my network connection is unstable, which I don't know why. You guys can hear me? Thumbs up if you can hear me. No? Okay. Thank you. You're the only one that I can see, Nicole. So I was looking for you. Thanks, Stacy. I was looking for someone to give me a thumbs up and nobody was there. Now I see nobody except Sandra's refrigerator. Okay, you're back. All right. So let's talk about it. So first habit, back to where we started. Eat protein. Protein will help you feel full longer, and it will make it more challenging for your body to store fat. So your habit that you're going to start creating is trying to eat with every meal some type of protein. That will also help you get your protein numbers in. So if you're going to eat a piece of cheese, you're going to eat a piece of something deli meat with it, or maybe a little piece of chicken breast, whatever it is. Don't just eat it. Don't just eat a piece of cheese. Don't just eat, obviously, you're not going to eat just a piece of bread. I mean, at one time you might have. I would have had a roll of bread, no problem. Those potato rolls that you can just roll up and just eat them. I was just training a private client, totally tangent again, but I was just literally on a Zoom training a private client, and she's like, "Oh, I see a lot going on in the background." I always bring that up, and they're like, "Yeah, we're having a barbecue, families in town, whatever." I was like, "Oh, that's cool." I said, "What are you gonna have at your barbecue?" And she's like, "Grilled chicken." And I was like, "Oh, awesome. What are you gonna have with the grilled chicken?" She goes, "Grilled chicken." And I was like, "We can't just eat grilled chicken." And she holds up a bag, and it's Hawaiian rolls. You know the little Hawaiian rolls? And she's like, "This is what we're eating with our grilled chicken." She goes, "But I'm not going to have it. All I'm going to have is a grilled chicken. Everybody else is going to have the rolls." I was like, "What about a vegetable? What about even a starch?" So it just made me think about how like people don't think about those habits of eating more than what, like bread. Like that's not a side. So anyway, all right. So we want to eat the protein with every single meal. Another habit that we should all create is eating mindfully. I am the first person to not do this. I can tell you that right now. I sit in my car. You guys all know I have my little desk, my little table. I pull out my laptop and I eat. Or I'm sitting at the desk at Orange Theory and I'm working and I'm eating. Or I'm sitting at home and I have the TV on in the background and I'm eating. That is the worst habit to create and probably one of the hardest habits to break, because I love background noise. Like I don't like quiet. If I'm sitting at home and working, Alexa's playing music. Like there's something always going on. Um, so, and this is something I'm going to start working on. I'm going to sit at a table and I'm going to eat my food and I'm going to chew my food. I am the fastest eater you will ever meet. I sit next to Mike, and before he even has a chance to sit down, my sister might be faster, but yeah. But that just goes to show you we're in the same family. Someone must have pulled our plates away while we were still trying to eat when we were little or something. I will sit down to eat and I'll be done eating before Mike even sits down. And then I just sit there. So there's a habit that you can do when you are trying to make a habit, and that is to put your fork down in between every single bite. I know I don't do that. Mike does that. I've seen him do that. And so that's going to be something that I'm going to try. I did for a little bit try to eat slower than him, but I think it's just because I'm so hungry and I love food. I just want to get it all down. I don't know. But that's going to be something I'm going to start working on. I'm going to sit down at the table. I'm going to chew my food. I'm going to savor the taste and put my fork down in between every bite. We should all be doing this. And this is a very good habit that will help with weight loss. And that is planning your meals. If you are not doing this, at least one meal a day, plan ahead. I get it. You're running home from football. You're running home from school. You're running home from work. You're running, and we're all running. Everybody has somewhere to go. But if you plan one meal, it could be breakfast, it could be your lunch, you are ahead of the program. I always plan my breakfast and my lunch. I may not know what dinner is, but I have that food, those macros left that I know I have in my allotment to have for dinner. If it's the weekend, I always plan ahead because I know I'm going to have wine. And I plan for that. I change what I would normally eat so I can plan for that, so I can have that. So planning ahead will help you choose lower calorie foods and help you choose foods that fit in your macros Tetris. As I said that, okay, I'm recording, just want to make sure. Okay. Another habit, and we talk about this all the time, and actually this is on these are my notes that I took out for next week that we're going to talk about sleep. It's going to be a lot about sleep. Because that's another thing with over 40. Our sleep patterns change. Our sleep habits change. We're sweating, we're cold, we're this, we're that. We have a lot going in our head. There's a lot going on, right? So we're going to talk about that. But sleep will regulate your hunger hormones and your metabolism. And this is another one that I would love to work on. But if I were to get 7 or 8 hours of sleep, I'd be in bed already. And that's impossible. So your goal is to get 7 to 8 hours of sleep. Your body actually needs that, requires that to regulate your metabolism and decrease your hunger hormones. Raise your hand. I only see Sandra and Nicole, but raise your hand if either of you get at least 7 hours of sleep. I feel like Nicole does. I remember that. Stacy, you do too? Oh, you guys all do? Well, okay, let's go around. I can't tell because April's black and white, but Nicole, how many hours of sleep do you get?
Usually 7 or 8,
Oh, good. So what time do you go to bed?
like 10.
And you're up at 6?
Yeah, 6:30,
Oh,
7.
good. That's
Depends.
really good. That's nice. Okay. Stacy, you're up. How many hours of sleep do you get?
I don't know what's gone on the past 2 weeks, but I've been in bed between 7 and 8.
At night.
Yeah, I can't stay up.
Is it because it's getting cold and dark?
No, it's 77 today. I think
Oh.
stress. So I'm just tired. So I'm getting about 9 hours.
Oh, good. Your body needs it. So, and that's the next thing I'm going to talk about after I ask Sandra how much sleep she gets. But 9 hours, I mean, that's amazing. If you're not more tired from sleeping that much, then that's beautiful. I mean, it's not great that you're stressed that you're not doing that. However, that's good for your body. Sandra, how many hours of sleep do you get? 9? 8, 9. Okay. So they definitely say that between 7 and 8, and I was going to touch on something that my sister said, and I can't remember. What were we saying? Say something you just said.
Usually about 8, 8 to try to get 8 to 9, but during the weekends I sleep in.
Good for you.
But-
Longer than that? That's great.
Well, not longer than 9, but
But 9 is like your
during the week it's about 7 or 8.
okay. That's awesome. I mean, you guys are nailing it. So that's one habit you guys don't have to work on. But if you're listening to this and you're only getting 4 or 5 hours, that's something to work on. I try to make up for it by napping during the day, at least 30 minutes, but it doesn't always happen, right? I go to bed 9:30, I am up by 3:20 in the morning. So that's kind of like 6 hours, usually about 6 hours sleep. And then I usually try to get a half an hour to an hour nap during the day. So I try to hit that 7 hours, at least in a 24-hour time span. But like I said, it regulates your hunger hormones, it helps your metabolism. Unfortunately, our stress will stop us from getting that sleep, or will make you sleep more. But sleep will help regulate your cortisol level. And what happens is when we are stressed, we can't control it. Our cortisol level goes up 100%. There's no way to control that because we don't have any control over our stress, a lot of it. But when we sleep, we have control over it because we're sleeping. We don't have that stress in our head, which allows your cortisol level to go down, which is why it basically regulates your metabolism, regulates your hunger, and it gives your body a chance without everything that's happening, all that stress that's going on. Even nightmares won't raise your cortisol level because it's not stress, it's not conscious stress. Water, obviously, our biggest habit, right? Everybody should be in that role of drinking water. Mike, for example, when he was working every day, he was drinking bottles and bottles of water. Like that was his number one habit. Since he had his surgery, he can't get off the couch, basically. So he was very mindful that he wasn't getting his water in. So he ordered an Awala bottle. I do not get a cut from Awala. I'm just making a statement. He got an Awala bottle, and every so often he's like, "Can you fill it up for me? I'm ready for a fill. I'm ready for a fill," because he can't get off the couch. He can't bear any weight. So he's constantly filling it and getting his water in. That's a habit he had to recreate. So if you're somewhere and you're like, "Oh, I can't get my water in," you need to make that a priority to get your water in. If you're on vacation or you're in a amusement park or any of those things, just make sure it is your priority to do that. That's really one of the main habits to help you with regulating weight loss. Obviously, we all know exercising regularly. Exercise burns calories. NEAT burns calories, non-exercise. I was walking out of UFIT the other day, and I teach a couple of classes a week at UFIT, and I see people, you know, they're going in to work out, but I see them like sharks trying to find a parking spot close, and they just keep going, and they just keep going, and they just keep going, and they just keep. I'm like, just park far. So I try to make it a point to park really far, just to get my need in, get my steps in. So I park far, and then I'm leaving with a couple of ladies, and they're like, "Oh, I'm right here." And the one lady's like, "Where did you park, Shannon?" And I pointed like it was way down. She's like, "Oh, was it really packed when you got here?" I was like, "No, it wasn't." But I know that I need to get my non-exercise in. And if this is the way I'm going to do it, that's what I'm going to do. And the next day, or it was actually 3 days later, we were walking into the parking lot from the same far parking spot. And she created a new habit. She's like, "I've come every single day since I saw you on Thursday." This was Sunday. "Since I saw you on Thursday for spin class. And I've come Friday, Saturday, and today, and I've parked in the same parking spot that you showed me you parked in." She's like, "And actually, I was hoping you would see me park today so you could see that you gave me this new habit." And I was like, that's freaking awesome. That is the same member that handed me money after class and said, "Go get yourself a bottle of King Crawford." That's wine, just so you guys know. So I thought it was funny because she normally gives me like Starbucks gift cards, and she handed me your cash. She's like, "Go get yourself a bottle of wine." I'm thinking, okay, well, did she think I was being like too strict with the whole walking thing? I wasn't quite sure where that was going, but it was nice of her. All right. This one is huge, and this goes back to how I eat my food. Avoid distractions. Don't watch TV. Don't do your homework. Don't do work at home. As adults, we don't have homework, but we do work at home. I have a tendency when I'm eating to do this. Anybody else? Right? It's a great time to disconnect. Now, of course, I should be practicing what I preach. We don't all do that. But I try to. I work on it a lot. I try not to look at my phone before I go to bed at night after I go upstairs. I try to disconnect. It's very hard for me to disconnect. If I looked at my time, you know, it gives you your time on your phone, how long you've been on your phone for the day, and it's a 24 hours. It usually says 23, like 18. 23 hours and 18 minutes I was on my phone. Terrible. But most of my jobs are on my phone. My Amazon, my clients, my music, like, so I don't really have a chance to not do that. How many of you eat breakfast? But it doesn't matter what time breakfast is. Good, perfect. Because eating breakfast is it's still the most important meal of the day. Remember when you were little, you hear that in the commercials, most important meal is teachers, the most important meal of the day. It starts your metabolism when you eat or drink water with lemon, any of those things. My breakfast, unfortunately, is not until 11 o'clock in the morning. And for me, once I open the gates, I get hungry. So if I were to eat at 4:30 a.m. when I'm driving to work, well, actually just getting to work, I would be hungry for every single class at Orange Theory, and that wouldn't work. So I wait until I get a big break, and then I eat a lot of my food, and then only have one more class, and then I can continue eating after that. So for me, it's like when you pee after you're like, and it opens it up, and that's the end of it. It's the same thing for me with food. So I have to wait. So I kind of intermittent fast, but not intentionally. but it is super important. So I do start my day with water and lemon because that will start your metabolism. And of course, coffee and a C4. C4 is an energy drink, just so you guys know. A very big one. Okay. So here's a huge thing. They say not to eat after dinner. But if you choose to hold macros over for like a Yasso bar or fruit or something for after dinner because you know you need that after dinner or nighttime snack, it's okay. But they also say that when you're done with those things, cut yourself off and brush your teeth. Because nothing's going to taste the same after you brush your teeth. And we all know that's true. Who has had brush their teeth and then had orange juice? It is horrible. So they say that if you have that thought in your head and you brush your teeth, that you won't want to eat anything else. Plus, now your mouth is clean, your tongue is clean, your teeth are clean, your gums are clean, everything's clean. Then you don't have to, then you won't want, I'm gonna mute you, Stacey. There you go. Sorry. I don't want you to think I didn't want to hear you cough, but a lot of times if someone else talks or something, then they lose me. So they say it reduces the temptation to eat. Now, I do brush my teeth before I go to bed at night, but that's when I'm getting ready to go to bed. Does anyone brush their teeth to stop themselves from being hungry? Oh, you do? I love that. I actually started probably like 3 weeks ago. I put a toothbrush and tooth whitening toothpaste in my gym bag because I drink coffee the whole way up from the house to where I work. And I hate that. It makes me feel like my mouth is dirty from the coffee. So as soon as I get there, I brush my teeth and before I start talking to anyone, because my coffee's done. Like once I get to Orange Theory, it's done. I've already drank like 3 cups in that one thing. No joke. Double espresso and an espresso. I know. I love talking when Nicole's on because she's very expressionate. She has a lot of expression, so I know she's listening to me. It's so nice. So I'm having a conversation with her. And I'm also wondering if that's making it easier for me not to want to eat before I have to eat. Kind of the opposite time, but same concept. So yeah, I've been doing that a lot. Okay, make sure you eat slowly. Now, these are the habits I'm going to run through fast that will help you lose weight. Make sure you're eating slowly. Choose foods that are nutritious. Even though you're tracking macros, go with the nutritious food because those are the ones that are going to help your wellness. I saw on somebody's log last week, they had peanut butter cups. And I love that they logged it. But then I cringed when I read it. And I was like, okay, macros is all about balance. I get it. But I got worried about what I'm going to see this week. Because it's in your face. Like our Amazon box my candy is in an Amazon box downstairs, still sealed. And literally I was walking up and I heard Mike opening a box. And I'm like, don't open that box. He's like, it's not your cans. Like I panicked. Because if it's open, it's easier for me to have it. And we're not going to sit outside tomorrow with our neighbor. So I'm just going to fill it in a bowl and bring it over. And I won't have that temptation. But anyway, so I saw that on her log and I was like, so I'm going to keep an eye on it. But I mean, you can have it because you put it in there, but don't make it a habit, right? If it's a craving or it's a holiday like that, of course, have it. Avoid liquid calories, for example, alcohol. Alcohol does not slow your metabolism down, contrary to what people say, but your body will break down the alcohol before it breaks down your food. So your food will sit in your system longer, which turns to glycogen. The sugars turn to glycogen, which turns to fat. So you want to limit that. Sorry. No, that's like contagious. Make sure you're getting your fiber in. Look at your numbers, get your fiber in. If you're not getting your fiber in, fiber will definitely help you with weight loss. It'll also help you go to the bathroom, which a lot of us have that problem. and look at your portions when you guys are eating. Make sure you're looking at the package. I always look at the package, how many servings it is, you know, what does that break down to? Because I have to put it in my log, and we should all be doing that and be mindful of it. Like if something you eat all the time, you should be able to grab and be like, oh, I know that this is 2 servings. Each serving is 70 calories, blah, 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 that kind of thing. So you want to be super, super mindful of that. And then they say that one of the number one things is get support. And you have support. So use me. That's why I'm here, to help you guys, to support you guys. We're on this weight loss journey together. I am diving into other things that will help with it as we get older, which I'll start talking about. You're going to start seeing it on my social media. But I'm not going to talk about that tonight because I don't really know I don't know everything about it yet, but I'm still learning, and I will give you guys information as we go. All right, so I'm going to let you guys go because I'm going to get shut down in, I think, a minute 19, and I got cut off last week, and it made me very sad. So I hope you guys all have an amazing night. And I have a mini session starting because I had a couple of people reach out to me. So I'm going to have a session starting, I think it's 11/11, November 11th, and it'll run through January 1st because that's when the New Year session starts. The January session, keep this in your head, will be a monetary challenge. Because I feel like I looked back and you guys did really good when there was money in the end. When I said there was like a $150 prize. Do you remember those days? Okay. So we're going to go back to that, and we're going to have a monetary challenge. January, the prize, the winner is going to get $200. Second place is going to get $100. And it's not weight loss, it's body fat, percentage of fat, like they do for the Biggest Loser. So you could only have to lose 5 pounds, or you have to lose 50 pounds. It's even. All right. So keep that in mind for the January. But you guys are good through the holidays. Like you guys are covered through that challenge. So if you know of anyone that's interested and wants to get in on it before the other session starts, make sure you send them my way. And I think that is it. Thank you to those that referred the 3 people that want to get started. I appreciate it. And I'm gonna have a separate meeting for those people because it's gonna be more focused on menopause. You guys can come into those meetings as well. So just so y'all know that. All right. So everybody have a great night. I went all the way to the end now. Have a great night, everyone. Remember, always be badass, and I will see you guys next week. Bye, everyone.